Hey, everybody. Are you ready? And away we go. Thanks, everybody who is waiting. I see Helter. I see Dragon. I see Keisha. And Helter confirms, yes, I can be seen and heard. Thank you very much. I have Dusty, as you can see. Dusty keeping me company for the time being until she gets bored. Preparedness is here. Thanks for joining us today. Loyal Tangi is here. Got some interesting things to talk about today. I think so. Hopefully they are, including a bit from YouTube. I have some correspondence. I have some correspondence from YouTube. It's actually for a different channel. And without going into who that is, because that channel's in enough trouble, their platform's been completely demonetized, and they've been in communication with YouTube. And this email really defines that when they put the screws to you, they really put them to you. And I'm going to read it and we can talk about it a little bit. Boogers is here. It says Boogers Speed Shop. Good afternoon, everyone listening in the background. And yeah, I acknowledge that all the time. I know I have some people that listen and don't actually watch or cannot watch, as I'm simultaneously here broadcasting on both Coffee Talk or at Coffee Talk Live on YouTube, as well as Prepper University on the YouTube. And there is John. It says, hi, everyone. The cats killed a mouse on stored combine this morning. Both got a treat. Oh, wow. Yeah, they're real helpful around, especially if you work around a garden or a farm. They'll keep the rodents and the snakes out of your property. They're great for that. If nothing else, there's no rodents or snakes anywhere around here. And it can only be because of all of the felines. You know, again, I'm sure most of you are aware, we take care of a lot of stray animals around this property. And I have to also thank Robert again. Robert made another donation to the GoFundMe project for the stray animals. Much appreciated. And I'll probably be doing an update on that sometime soon. There's Nostalgic Pod Blast joining us today. Thanks for stopping by. And he can see us. He says, cute kitty cat. I have a bunny rabbit I named Baby. Now that's funny. My son has a cat named Baby. She should be pretty old by now, actually. She should probably be around 15 years old. This one is Dusty. This is one of the strays that she's become an indoor cat now. We just keep this one. Her and her brother were found as kittens, and we still have both of them. Although they'd probably be prime candidates for adoption. But yeah, you see how easy she is to work with here. So I just keep her. I'll keep her. All People has joined us. Says hello, everyone. And again, I'm going to show you here in a moment email correspondence from YouTube that shows just how ruthless they can be. They can be extremely ruthless. Again, it's for another channel, without going into the particulars of that channel, because it's in enough trouble already without making it worse. What does this say? John says the problem is the casing on wiring is soy. Cats are team members. And Preparedness says YouTube has a lot of people by the balls. Yeah, they do. They got you, because you don't even, their rules are very vague, very open-ended, and if you violate anything, it's a problem. If you violate anything, it's a problem. Focus is here. Says hi, everyone, and All People wants to know if Amazon was honorable enough to refund you for the bad cat food. Not as yet. We're not getting anywhere with Amazon yet, unfortunately. But yeah, I'm going to open this up here. And there's John. Says Six Semper Luciferian NWO. All right, now. I'm in enough trouble. I'm going to end up like this. But again, this is another, this is YouTube partner support at Google. And I'm going to open this email up and I'm going to share it with you so that you can read this. I'll read it along, obviously, for those of you who can hear and not see. Let me find it here. Is this it? I think this is it, because I got a couple of things open here. So I'll pull it up and I'll read it. And it, like I said, it really defines how incredibly ruthless this service can be. So you should be able to see that now. But like I said, I will read it through. It says, "Hi there. I hope you're doing great and this email finds you well. My name is Bell and I will be assisting you today with your concern. I understand you're having some issues with your channel's monetization. I know that it is important for you to get this right. No worries. I'll do everything that I can to assist you." That is not true, as you will soon find out as we read along. Next paragraph. "Before we proceed, please be aware that our internal team checked your account thoroughly and we have already confirmed that it violated our policies. Please note that this decision is final and will not be overturned." Okay, so we made a decision, whether it's right or wrong, it will not be overturned because it's our policy to stick to the decision no matter what. That's the first thing I get out of that. Secondly, there's no internal team. We all know it's bots. And the channel in question has literally like probably at least a couple of thousand videos. No team watched all of those and made a determination, okay? It says, "Please take into account that we are very strict on enforcing our rules and regulations as we like to keep the platform safe for everyone." This is a very moderate platform we're talking about. There's nothing offensive on it. Kids could watch the channel in question, okay? It's there's not an issue of safety. Now, for the exact reason for the denial, and this is the key part right here. This is the key phrasing. Now, for the exact reason for the denial, because that was the question. What did I do? What did I do wrong? Can you tell me so I can try to fix it? I apologize, but we cannot provide the specifics for it as our internal policies prohibit us from sharing these information. That's bad syntax, sharing these information instead of sharing this, to avoid partners from going around our policies. So basically, we screwed you. We're not going to tell you why. We're not going to tell you what you might have done wrong. It's our policy not to tell you so that you can't fix it. That's literally, when you undo the word salad, that's what that means. We empower you to check these articles. Okay, yeah, you have permission to look at these articles to avoid your future videos from being impacted by the same violation. Content quality guidelines, community guidelines, AdSense policies, and YouTube monetization policies. We hope you understand our limitations. So they have some articles you can look at that may explain some things, and you can try to figure it out, essentially is what this says. To avoid your future videos from being impacted by the same violation. If you don't know what the violation is because their internal policies prohibit them from telling you, how are you supposed to figure out what the problem is and fix it? I know that this may not be your desired resolution. Please keep in mind we have a process to follow. Yeah, I bet. I hope I was able to clear it out for you. I wish you the best of luck and hope for your success. Thank you so much for your understanding as we work on resolving your case. Who's working on resolving it? You're not helping. You guys aren't helping at all. In the meantime, thank you for trusting and giving us the opportunity to assist you. It has been a pleasure working with you. May you have a nice day ahead. Aw, really? Unbelievable. Thank you for trusting us. How can you trust that? I'm going to screw you. I'm not going to tell you what the problem is. I'm going to lie. There's no team. It's bots, okay? But I won't tell you what the problem is. I'm not going to help you. You have to figure it out for yourself, maybe. You have permission to look at open source material and try to guess your way around it. And, whatever. Preparedness as a typical condescending and generated message. And Nathan Cook says, how can I rebuild a sense of community among my friends and family? It's been deteriorated, and I feel like a good, strong community will work well against government intrusion. If people aren't on board with it, Nathan, rebuilding it, I don't know what to tell you. You've got to, because if somebody walks away and then comes back, do you really trust them? Will you ever really trust them again? So you may end up having to start from scratch with whatever type of people you're working with. John says YouTube serves the sheep likes sheep content. And Arakel says YouTube serves I. Monkey said, hello, the Gmail response from Bell is basically saying you broke the rules, but we can't tell you what rules you broke, so figure it out. Yeah, pretty much. And Keisha says, at least when the Nazis burned and banned books, they told you why. Oh, Dusty wants to get down. Last quick look at Dusty there in the corner, and I'll put her on the desk. Go on, sweetie. Yeah, at least tell you something. Focus says, time to consider Gab or Discord if this nonsense continues. Preparedness says, is there no chance of human interaction with YouTube? Who knows? That's supposed to be human interaction. Obviously, it is not. That's just another auto-generated response. Obviously, I have no idea. And, unless you're a massive freaking channel, forget it. They're not going to be bothered to talk to you. All people said the bad syntax indicates that the bots were programmed by China. Probably. And Arakel says the machine hates humans, period. Bam says, I got 2 warnings when I had an opinion about dysphoria. Yeah, I bet. And Preparedness says that email is a good example of future AI decision makers, from your bank account to your social security decision. Yeah. So you made a mistake. Good luck trying to figure out what it is. We can't tell you. And have a nice day. So glad you trusted us to help you. Monkey says, only way you'll get human interaction if you're well known or huge on YouTube. Yeah, that's why I make the reference a lot. I'm no Mr. Beast. What does he have? Like 28 million subscribers, that guy? I don't watch him, so I don't really know. But I've heard of the character. I've heard of the person on YouTube. Yeah, if he has an issue, I bet you he can get a person. But otherwise, you're kind of screwed. John says, when the cash is gone, I'm going to the hills. Literally, yeah, I don't blame you. But that email is insulting. We empower you to check these articles. Like, I couldn't go and look at it myself if I had to deal with it, right? You can't go and look at these. We give you permission to look at open source material and try to guess your way through this. Good luck. Thank you for trusting us and giving us the opportunity to assist you. Indeed. Yeah, there is no Bell. There's no Bell. I don't believe that. And there is no team. Checked an account thoroughly. You didn't look at thousands of videos. That didn't happen. We're very strict. Obviously, keeping the platform safe. And again, this is like rated G material. There's nothing to keep anybody safe from. Who are you keeping safe? It bothers me that any of these social media companies even do that in the first place, because it's like, who are you keeping safe? What is the point of that? If I see something offensive, I'll just go watch something else. I'll ignore it and walk away. But when you have individuals that are sitting there crying and curling up in a ball, odds are they're faking it to get this kind of reaction from these companies. I couldn't imagine what the problem is, honestly. I couldn't imagine. And who is this? Loyal says Mr. Beast is a shill. I have no idea. Like I said, I've heard of this person, but I've never actually watched the videos. You know what I mean? Maybe Mark Dice is a better comparison. I don't know how many subscribers he has, but I know he's got a lot. Fluke Man says they're late again. Well, at least you made it. Nostalgic says many channels buy their views and subscribers from an agency that specializes in social media optimization via bots. That's cheating, and that is correct. I've talked about that on this channel before, that you can buy views, likes, even comments now. You can purchase comments now from services, and they'll provide them. John wants to know how many cats you have on. I have no idea why they hate you. Oh, because of how many cats I have on. Here's one last look at Dusty there. Hello, dear. Hey, Dusty, help me out with my channel, will you? Help YouTube to like my channel. Maybe the bots will think that I'm a pet channel. And there is Tom has joined us. He says, hello back. Hello back. So as we prattle on here, as we carry on, I just wanted to point that out to let you know just how incredibly ruthless that service is. And again, people will say, oh, oh, go to Steam, go to Rumble, go to this, go to that. They don't work. They don't work. There's nobody there. There's nobody there. Unless you're Russell Brand and you brought your audience with you. It's not so simple. It really isn't. And some people, they can't get on those services also. So there's a limitation to how much of your audience you can bring with you. Now, this is adds to the embarrassment of what we're dealing with here in our country. And this is from Rare. I'm reading this off of a website called Rare. It says Biden rants about the bathroom, looks tired and confused during strange podcast appearance. Strange podcast appearance. Bob is here. He says, good evening. It must be dark where Bob is. And Not Nostalgic says, fake movie reaction videos is so annoying. Watch my daughter see Back to the Future for the very first time. The reaction are comments like, awesome, and I didn't expect that to happen. Yeah. And then that should be a violation because you're using, I don't know, because it's touch and go. You're supposed to have the right to use video and audio in certain context, but YouTube can be really iffy about whether or not they allow it, even though technically you should. Like, I should be able to use clips, video and sound for movies, TV shows, whatever. Oh, Bob says it is 7:20 where they are in the UK. That's where he is. I should be able to do that. But if they decide to hit me on a copyright strike, they will. And then obviously, as you saw, they won't overturn a decision, which was what we were just discussing before. They will not overturn a decision once they've made it. They'll leave you stuck. Because Slinka says, I just got here. Was the channel struck again? Not necessarily, but I was reading some YouTube correspondence where they explain that once they make a decision, right or wrong, it stays, and that their policy doesn't allow for them to tell you what the violation was, so that you can't get around it and figure it out. Fluke Man says, I had high hopes for Trump's social media site, but everything is about politics and found it boring. I want to see videos about cats. Oh, no. And Tom says, I'm going to share with you crazy idea I got. The prophet Daniel of the Bible talking about the king of the north and king of the south. And I'm crazy. And in my crazy personal matrix by dates, the king of the north is somebody. He doesn't say yet. Monkey says, as long as it's for educational critique or your voice over on the clip being played, you'll mostly be fine. Yeah, but they can still hit you for it. And then how do you fight it? Most people on YouTube, it's just a small little nobody channel like this one. It's just a small channel. Got a handful of people that like to watch it, so on and so forth. If I got a strike like that, I'd be screwed. There's nothing. I couldn't possibly fight it. Can't afford to fight the beast. It's too expensive. And they know that, and they use that against people. They use it against people. But back in here with Biden, it says President Joe Biden recently made a strange podcast appearance in which he appeared tired and confused, barely able to speak from his slouched positioning in a chair. It appeared that Biden was ready for his afternoon nap. You know what they did there? I know I'm always going on about language. If somebody's going to call me a grammar Nazi, they have appearance and appeared in the same sentence, and then a third form of the word appeared in the same paragraph. And if I was writing an MLA paper, um, I would get a mark for that in college. I just wanted to point that out. You'd get in trouble for that. You would. Tom believes that Abraham Lincoln is the king of the North, 12th of February, and the king of the South is Jesse Woodson James from the 5th of September. I guess that's his clarification for his statement. And Rodney made a $10 donation to the channel. Well, $10 in New Zealand money. I don't know how that translates, and it doesn't matter. He says YouTube has vague, ill-defined rules so they can apply them universally. That is, use them to censor people whose politics they don't agree with. Very, very true. And thank you very, very much for the donation. Goes a long way towards helping the animals. Again, any donations typically go to taking care of the strays that we collect. And I can hear her in the back. I don't know why she left the room, and she's going to make noise now because that's the "Where is everybody? I'm lonely" cry. I don't know if anyone else can hear that. And I know that's Dusty. I know her voice. Keisha says Biden just needs to give up and go to bed. Well, they woke him up for the interview, obviously. When asked if television shows and movies depict the presidency correctly, no. Biden can be quoted as responding, and this is a quotation, direct quotation I'm going to read. I'd get up in the morning, and it wasn't like Ozzy and Harriet. I wasn't fixing their breakfast, but I'd be there, and I'd have breakfast for them. They'd take off for school, and I'd take off for the train, so I've been back and forth so much. I just haven't watched many PR. And by the way, there's a lot of good stuff, I'm sure. And by the way, they've got a great advantage here. You got a movie theater here. That is confusing. What the hell is he talking about? Do they have the actual clip? They do have the actual video clip. I'm going to chance playing this for everybody. I'm going to chance playing this for everybody. Oh, wow. All people says the Chinese AI bots, or I guess he means Chinese, probably wrote that article. That could be. People just, you know what? People just, they don't proofread anymore. You used to proofread, and that used to be important. That used to be a big job, but it's been replaced by a machine, and the bots make a lot of mistakes. Spell check and all of that makes a lot of mistakes. It makes a lot of grammatical errors. I find that a lot if I'm typing and then it tries to correct me, and I'm like, that's not what I'm saying. It doesn't know, but they rely on it. And like I said, that wouldn't be allowed in that type of writing normally, or it shouldn't be. Somebody would have caught that, and you go and you get synonyms for the term. You get synonyms for the word. So, okay, you said appearance, and you want to use something like appearance again. So you say President Joe Biden recently made a strange podcast appearance in which he seemed tired and confused. You see what I mean? Barely able to speak from his slouched positioning in a chair, it looked as if Biden was ready for his afternoon nap. Now you're not repeating yourself. And that's why you do that. Like I said, if I wrote an MLA paper, well, when I went to college anyways, I don't know about now, and I did that, they would have underlined that and said reword. I would have had to rewrite that paper. But wow. Yeah, Dragon says there was a time when people questioned Trump because of a typo on Twitter, yet the silence is deafening when it comes to the constant Biden screw-ups. Yeah. Tom says, thanks for letting me explain my stupid idea, guys. As long as you're not being a jerk, if I'll try to read the comments to keep up for people who are listening and not watching. Nostalgic says, so true, Dave, about the bad grammar. Also in online articles from big organizations like People Magazine, I'm thinking, where did the editor or editor-in-chief where was the editor or editor-in-chief to spot these mistakes? Because they don't have them anymore. They run it through a system. But that's why you had like 1,000 people in a freaking newspaper office back in the day when people still bought newspapers. You had somebody to look at that and say, oh, that's out of character. And I used to be really, really good at MLA papers and at writing like mini articles and stuff like that. And yeah, you had to be on it. So when I see stuff like that, it pops out at me because I'm so used to it. I'm so used to it. Helter says Joe Biden makes Jimmy Carter look like a freaking genius. And Bob says Rob Stark, King of the North, question mark. And Prime says Biden is the most bestest. Yeah, I know, huh? Word. Monkey said, I remember doing MLA in late high school and early college. It's true to watch how you write it out versus how it sounds. Yeah, you have to be real careful about it. But I said I would chance playing this. So let's go ahead and watch and listen to him fumble. If it'll hold still, good Lord.
And get up in the morning, and it wasn't like Ozzie and Harriet. I wasn't fixing their breakfast, but I'd be there and have breakfast with them. They'd take off for school. I'd take off for the train. So I've been back and forth so much. I just haven't watched many programs. And by the way, there's a lot of good stuff, I'm sure. I mean, every once in a while I turn on. And by the way, they got a great advantage here. You got a movie theater.
Yeah. Inside?
Yeah. And they tell me I get this list what movies are in. And we have the new one that's the Oppenheimer. Yeah, I haven't seen it yet.
I haven't either. Yeah.
They're the movies I see these days. I get to see them at night once in a while.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, he didn't answer the question. That was a yes or no question, Biden. Thanks for nothing. Wow, he just sounded like he was rambling. You could have asked him anything. And the guy threw him a line by saying Oppenheimer. I would have been tempted to say something, just make up something. Oh, you mean like Orwell's 1984? Yeah, I saw that the other night. Oh man. Fluke Man says, has anyone else noticed ScrewTube censors videos on their own website that's actually allowed? I added a link of a video to a comment I made, but it immediately got deleted and the video is still up. Yeah, they'll delete comments. They'll delete links. They pull down all kinds of stuff now. You can't get anything done in here anymore. John says, when Biden wins again, will people get it? I say no. I did a video on that. I got a strike for that video. I don't know if you remember that. Some of you may have seen that video where I was like, whether he wins or loses, it will prove a lot. If he loses, it'll prove people don't want him and he wasn't as popular as you thought. And if he wins, you'll know it's fraud. In a nutshell, that's what I talked about. And Helter says the trick is to just tell them stories that go nowhere. Back in my day, we tied an onion around our belt. That was the style at the time. Abe Simpson, 2024. Yeah. There you go. Monkey said, imagine being Biden's personal wrangler every day so as not to have him do anything stupid, but yet media is silent as hell. He's made so many faux pas, it's frightening. And Preparedness says, what an embarrassment. It is. And Bam says, Biden is not in charge for those who haven't figured it out. No, he's a puppet. And Dwayne Johnson will be an even bigger one. I picked on him Friday because I swear he is the true Manchurian candidate. Do not vote for this man. Do not vote for this man. Every inch of his life has been directed and controlled. No one has more strings on him than Dwayne Johnson. So eventually when he runs for office, beware. Beware. Sergeant Scrogg says, I think if Biden wins, it might have to be due to the guy they put up against him. Lesser of two evils, question mark. I don't know. Things are pretty awful. Yeah, I don't know if you can get worse. And Prime says, different puppet, same strings. Yeah, I totally get where you're coming from there. And I lost my my thing here. Hold on a second while I open it back up with everybody. Anytime now. Here we go. This is important. Oh, Lone Star made it. Thanks for joining us today, Lone Star. This is not important news at all, but the reason I'm showing it and the reason it's important is because this is the kind of stuff the media throws at you and wants you to be concerned about. And this is from Total Pro Sports. That's the website. And it says, fans are praying for Brittany Griner following heartbreaking announcement. This was a top news article, top of the feed, which is why I pulled it out. All right. And without even reading through this, it's extremely misleading. It's extremely misleading. I'll tell you in a second. Fluke Man says, what, Johnson's running for office? And I thought Arnold was bad. No, he's not, but he's being groomed for it. All of the fluff pieces surrounding this guy is what I talked about on Friday. I showed a thing with him where he donated a 7-figure sum, undisclosed 7-figure sum, to an agency associated with the SAG, Screen Actors Guild, not to be confused with FAG, the Film Actors Guild. If somebody got that reference, but maybe somebody can tell us where that's from. I'll see if anybody's paying attention. But he made a huge donation, and every time this guy does anything, he's in the press, and the media is glorified. Definitely grooming him for political office. He's been groomed his entire life. His show is a fraud. It's not how he grew up. Oh, Rodney got it. Congratulations, Rodney. You get a kudos point. He says Team America. That is correct. Team America. There you go. But he all the stuff, I did a video about him with the Snickers bars at the 7-Eleven. They followed him around with a film crew because he felt so bad, and he's always had guilt about when he used to steal Snicker bars from the 7-Eleven on his way to the gym in Hawaii. And so he bought Snicker bars and gave them away. And it's absolutely ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous, but they're fluffing this guy up for something. It's got to be politics. But and again, he's had a charmed life. I mean, he was under Vince McMahon from day one, flying around the world, meeting celebrities, jet setting. And you can't afford a Snicker bar, but you can afford the gym. Is that the idea? Absolutely. Monkey said the video paused briefly. Uh-oh. And Prime says, I wish Brittany Griner all the C boosters. Yeah, no kidding. And Monkey says, guess ScrewTube didn't like the abbreviation for the Film Actors Guild. Yeah, I bet you. They probably just checked me. I bet you I just got a strike. And Bam says, Team America's song everyone has, yeah, the A thing. I got to be careful there. That could be it. I wonder if that was right when I said that, because I can't see it on this end. But I bet you I just got hit. But okay, they're telling you, and this was a top news story. Remember, this was top of the feed ahead of everything else on Microsoft and on Bing News Search. Fans are praying for Brittany Griner following heartbreaking announcement. Guess what the heartbreaking announcement is? Okay, it's right here. She's going to skip 2 games. She's skipping 2 games on the 2 away games. She's not going to go because she don't feel good. I'm not kidding. It's right there. Mercury announced via Twitter that the basketball legend. Oh, she's a legend. She should be a legend for traveling. You ever watched these games? You ever watched Griner? I don't think the ball hits the ground once. It says we'll be away from the team for their 2-game road trip so she can focus on her mental health. So she don't feel good and she doesn't want to go. And this is top news where they try to convince you that fans are praying for Brittany Griner following heartbreaking announcement. That's heartbreaking. That's heartbreaking. Lone Star says Dwayne Woke Johnson is planning on running. I was almost certain Michelle Obama would run. He ain't running yet, but it's coming. I bet you he'll end up in politics at some point. And a lot of wrestlers go that way. Kane is a mayor. What's his name? Jesse Ventura was a governor, so on and so forth. It's been proven that it can be done. It can happen. What does this say here? Monkey says, after 5 to 7 seconds, you said brief pause. Monkey says the only time she got legend was when the media was all over her for being locked up in Russia. And Helter says, I wonder if the stressed out nurses, teachers, electricians, etc. can get a mental health break. No mental health breaks for anybody else. Just her. And it's 2 games. Who gives a crap in the WNBA of all things? Demand more pay, get more views. Get more views, and then you can get more money. All People says, is society sure that Britney is not actually a Brit he? Yeah, I've heard that. I don't know. And Lone Star says true story. But yeah, that is hardly heartbreaking. Nobody cares. She's taken a couple of games off. Big freaking deal. And I don't know how she's a legend, like I said. And I was being sarcastic, but it's true. If she's legendary for anything, it's traveling. I've watched some things from the WNBA. I've seen Brittany Griner's, and she'll take 5, 6, 7, 8 steps before that ball moves. And and they don't call it. There's no whistle blow. They just let it happen. This is why they get no respect. Nostalgic says that the F comment might have alerted a bot, and the bot doesn't know the context. Exactly. And Dragon says if Brittany had any true character about herself, she'd be doing everything within her power to help other prisoners home. She probably came home and stopped caring about everybody but herself. I think that's kind of been the problem all along. And she could advocate for the person that was supposed to be exchanged for the alleged merchant of death, that they left on the hook to bring her home instead. Even the merchant of death in an interview, I believe, said that wasn't fair, because he was interviewed and he had some interesting things to say about America and prison culture that were true. Actually, hell, I'd like to talk to him. Nostalgic says a cigarette is an FAG in Europe. Yes, it is. John said Brittany had an operation at some time. I have no idea about that. And Helter says mental health used to be a code word for drug rehab, at least in men's sport. That's a good point. That is a good point. And then she'll blame it on having been in Russia. Oh, it's because I was in Russia. It's like that kid who remembers way back, the kid who was vandalizing stuff in, where was he? Thailand? Was it Thailand or Singapore or something? And he got publicly caned. They gave him 8 strikes, and he came back, and he was a drug addict, and he says it was because of the emotional trauma of getting caned. I know I'm jumbling the story, but I remember that. That was a long time ago. And John says, did Brittany play college on the men's team? Okay. Cougar's here. Says late but here. Well, thanks for joining us today, Cougar. Important news. Important news. I'm going to pull up here. I'm going to try to pull it up. Oh, Lone Star says they remember that, the caning. And he blamed his drug problems on the fact that he was caned, even though he had them before he went there. Hey, you go to another country, you better watch it. You don't just go around. I think he was spray painting stuff on the walls and on cars or something like that. Was that it? I believe that was the issue. Now, where is the image I'm looking for here? Oh, please tell me I didn't lose it. All right, here we go. I think I got it, and I will pull this up here in a moment, because this is actually an important story. This is an important story, and it's something that we touch on a lot. Somebody mentioned this before, too. They said they'd be real upset if this happened. Now, let me read this one real quick and we'll get on. All People says, until chromosome reports are made public, everyone will wonder if there's a chance that Brittany is a dude pretending to be a girl for the T and alphabet agenda. Well, you see here, and this is from littlethings.com, but there's a ton of articles about this because it's official now. Dr. Seuss books with racist imagery will no longer be published, but not everyone agrees. Of course not, because it's freaking Dr. Seuss, man. This is what happens when your family sells your legacy, okay? Because who owns Dr. Seuss now? The family doesn't own the rights to it. They haven't for a long time. That's why they had that the Cat in the Hat movie with Mike Myers and stuff like that, because Seuss would never have allowed that. He wouldn't have. Prime says they don't play games in Singapore. If you F around and find out, they will scourge you at the public square. Everyone understands an ass whooping. Yeah. And he only got 8 lashes. And I know they can get into it. And so he got off easy with 8. Keisha says, my mother taught me how to read out of the Dr. Seuss books when I was 4. Yeah, well, you won't be reading these. And I believe here, I can't get the right image. The 4, there's actually how many? 7. It says 6, but there's 7, I believe. It says, and to think that I saw it on Mulberry Street. If I ran the zoo, McGilliott's Pool, Beyond Zebra, Scrambled Eggs, and the Cat's Quizzler. And I think if I ran the circus also is going to be on this list. And Tom says, in love and memory of my good friend Kevin David Mitnick. But these are no longer going to be published, because we talk about this a lot. And I've talked about books that you should probably pick up, like we talked about Roald Dahl not too long ago, that they're going to be altering his writings. They're going to be editing them, which is a complete affront to the man's legacy, because he was absolutely dead set against censorship and would almost literally come to blows over anybody trying to edit his writing. So Cat in the Hat's been kicked around for a while, but these are the publisher who owns the rights, because again, unfortunately, the family doesn't, is not going to publish these anymore. So if you wanted any of those, saw it on Mulberry Street, If I Ran the Zoo, If I Ran the Circus, McGilliott's Pool, Scrambled Eggs Super, Cat's Quizzler, and what was the other one? Because they covered it up, Beyond Zebra. You're going to have to find them aftermarket. And this is the argument. A lot of people will say, oh, it's not banned because you can still get it. Yeah, but they're not printing them. They're not printing them anymore. And some of these have already been edited. I know one of these, I can't remember which one it is. There's a Chinese kid, and it says something like he eats noodles with sticks. And a Chinese boy who eats noodles with sticks. And they edited they made an alteration to say a Chinese man eats noodles with sticks, so that you're not calling him boy, even though it is a boy in the picture. And they changed his color from yellow to white. So they've already been editing this stuff and kicking around for a while. And now they're making it official. They're shutting it down. Dragon says he's done more to encourage reading by young children than anyone. Kids would not interpret these images as racist unless an adult told them it was racist. The whole issue saddens me. That's true. And hey, I absolutely recommend Dr. Seuss books. They're simple. They rhyme. They sound good. The stories are funny. The images are funny. It's great reading. It's great, simple reading for kids. John says USA has more people incarcerated than China and Russia combined. And then Monkey says Seuss Enterprises owns Dr. Seuss from my research, but the family doesn't have the rights to it anymore. I don't think. I'll have to look into that, but my understanding is the family didn't have the rights anymore. I know that his wife had to get donations to even have a statue put up in their town, because she had no funding. And if she had the rights to it, she'd have the money. Helter says future generations won't see and learn the lessons you would only get from a Dr. Seuss book, all because some characters could be offensive to someone. And Rodney says now is the time to get classic, unedited, hard and soft copies of all the classics, encyclopedias, etc. Yeah. Another one that they did that to was Tintin. Rodney, you might remember Tintin. You know who I'm talking about? By Hergé. I love Tintin. And I read those when I was a kid too. And Canada did a television series called based off of Tintin. I have it right here, actually. Hold on. Just pop off real quick for those of you that are looking. See? Oh, I got to go back to full screen. And I'll open that other article back up here in a moment. See? The Adventures of Tintin. It says it's in French, but it's dubbed in English. You can get it in French or English. Both languages are on the box set. And they only did a handful of the stories because some of the other stories are banned, like Tintin in China. And the reason they banned that one was because there's a reference to when the Chinese used to do foot binding. And I'm like, but that's true. That's true. There might even be some women still alive today in China that underwent that procedure because it was popular at the time for women to have teeny tiny little feet. So they would do this stuff to them to make their feet small. And so they could wear these little bitty shoes that look pathetic and they can barely walk and it's painful. But that's something that they used to do. And he mentioned it in the book, and so they banned it. And I'm like, it's the truth. The stuff that when Hergé had Tintin on his adventures in different countries, the stuff they talked about was accurate. Yeah. All People says everything seems to be labeled as the R word in this day and age. It's to the point of the word R has lost all of its meaning. Same with the accusations having lots of big old trees. Yeah, it's gotten terrible. Meanwhile, the left ignores the rumor that Dr. Seuss worked for the CIA. Yeah. So did Liberace. Bam says China is known for their high testosterone men. That's why you need to call a boy a man. Oh, is that what it is? And Rodney says, I do indeed remember Tintin. I have a few. Yeah, great stories. And by the way, the stories that they do in this, they did 10. They did 10 volumes. You see there's 5 on this one, and there's another box set of 5, and they go together. I used these to help my youngest learn to read because we would read the book and then we would watch this because it's spot on accurate in appearance and story to how it's written. Spot on. But they would not do all of them because some of the books were banned. And Tom says Haddock was all, yeah. Well, no, because he got on the wagon. When Tintin first found him, he was drunk, and he convinced him to give up his drinking ways. And All People said soon the left will get Homer's Odyssey. Yeah, I know. No, they'll get Plato's The Republic, because from Plato's The Republic you get the allegory of the cave. And that's an important philosophical story. Helter says, back in the day, we had a way of dealing with people that found offense to everything. We told them to grow a pair and then laughed at them hysterically. Yeah, indeed. And Fluke Man says, wonder if they made the alterations if Doll was black. Oh, you know what? I bet you they wouldn't have. And Helter says, I don't know, because they did cancel Aunt Jemima, and that was a real person. And they did cancel Uncle Ben, and that was a real person. Took them off of their products. But there's a real story behind both of those people who were legitimate rags to riches success stories from back in the day. So yeah, it depends. And DIY says, I just restored a 1964 Oxford dictionary. It had all the real words that offended the snowflakes. I don't even know if I can say snowflake. I might get in trouble. I have to be real careful in today's day and age, because I don't know what I might say. And I will let you guys know tomorrow, or if I probably will do another podcast tomorrow, that if I got a strike for, and where that strike came in. It says, all of us likely have a favorite Dr. Seuss book as children. It was hard not to get into the rhymes of green eggs and ham and hop on pop, but it's important to remember that his stories were written in a very different time. Oh, you're pandering. And that means that some of the images in his books are no longer deemed appropriate or politically correct. He mostly drew animals. And then the people he drew didn't really look like people. Because of racist and insensitive imagery, 6 books from Dr. Seuss's collection are going to stop being published altogether. The way that some of his characters were drawn is stereotypical and hurtful. Those from different cultures are often drawn more as caricatures than characters in a story. Everybody in his stories are drawn as a caricature. Do the Who's in Whoville look like real people? Does Mr. Brown look like a real person? They're all caricatures. I mean, how stupid do they think we are? One of the most popular titles being pulled is And to Think That I Saw It on Mulberry Street, which also was the first Dr. Seuss book available. So they're canceling his very first official title. The story was initially released in 1937, while Dr. Seuss, otherwise known as Theodore Seuss Geisel, is no longer alive. The company behind his books feels as if the move is best. This way, Dr. Seuss Enterprises can ensure that the books being read by children represent real families, cultures, and communities better. Huh. Yeah. The company behind his books. So yeah, the family's out of the picture. I'm pretty sure. It's kind of like what happened with the Muppets when Jim Henson's family sold out. I mean, he was liberal-minded himself, but he wasn't a milksop, bleeding heart one like the kind we have now. Sickening. Absolutely sickening. Preparedness says, the Internet Archive can be a good source of old books these days, considering most libraries are being closed. Yeah, but how long is that going to hold up? And can you trust it? I'd rather have a hard copy. And Cougar made a $10 donation to the channel. Thank you, Cougar. Thank you very much. It says, let's face it, everything is offensive now. Air, water, breathing, good is evil, right is wrong, and common sense makes you a terrorist. And there's 215 different genders and counting. And Facebook started that with their questionnaire, allowing for people to chime in on what they thought were different what do you identify as, and they got 67 different responses, and it never occurred to them it was people trolling or pranking or kids trying to be stupid. They went with it because they wanted to. But thank you again, Cougar. I really appreciate that. And Prime says, I'm having green eggs and hams for breakfast tomorrow. And DIY says, I find classical music the best to work with. It helps me concentrate. Pop music annoys me. And Monkey said, everything these days is all dumbified and everything is offensive. Yeah, it is. But that bothers me a great deal. I don't like the direction that any of that is going in. It's unfortunate. It really is. And, we have all these children that are going to grow up and they won't know what they're missing. They can't miss what they don't know, like their freedom, their rights, their ability to read and comprehend. All People says Jim Henson, just like Walt Disney, also did some work for the CIA. Okay. And Rodney says hard copies are locally stored and backup soft copies are the way to go. And All People said, all saying thank you to Cougar. 100%, he says. And Fluke says, like Sesame Street, they celebrated having a black puppet, but why? They have white, green, Asian, Middle Eastern, and etc. characters. But here's the thing, they didn't used to. The reason, and this is pre-Elmo, because remember, I'll suck it up for Sesame Street, early Sesame Street, not modern Sesame Street. Modern Sesame Street is garbage. They never had a black puppet because they didn't need one, because all their puppets were not the colors of actual people. And they avoided that concept by doing that with the puppets. And you had a variety of humans on the show. There were black people, white people, Hispanic people, whatever, were on the show as regular parts of the show, but the puppets were left neutral for a reason, on purpose. But Disney Enterprises, through Sesame Street, has undone that. They've undone it now. Bam says that's mean to destroy a culture. It is, and it is our culture, and that's part of what's happening is our American culture and our American heritage is being unraveled. All the things that made us great. Hell, we can't even have the light bulbs anymore. I've been talking about that for a few days. Monkey said, imagine the owners that started their company would have the fear that after their passing, they'll have the legacy they've built up be dragged down to hell. Yeah, and it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate to see these companies, see people, families selling out, and to see these characters being destroyed. And Fluke Man, sorry, I meant to say they don't have white, Asians, and etc. I understand. I understand what you mean, but yeah, they didn't need a character like that. You already have humans on the show like that. Why introduce a puppet that way? It's not necessary. That's why they have monsters and they have characters that look like caricatures of humans in a variety of colors, or they used to. That's why it was done that way. Monkey says, just so, like how the Simpsons were originally meant to be just yellow characters rather than by skin color. Yeah, they were neutral. You could assume they were Caucasian, but doesn't mean they were. And Prime says, didn't Elmo catch AIDS? I don't know, because I don't watch any of the modern stuff. Did they do that on the show? I can only imagine. Here's another one you should have in your video library, folks. If you can still hear me here, I'll assume that you can. I'm going to pull something out really quickly. This is the Sesame Street that you need to have. This is the one that I would show my kids. Old school. Because you can't find a definitive library of Sesame Street classics because they did like 250 episodes a year. It was a daily broadcast for the most part. But there are videos available, and these came from Barnes & Noble. I got these years and years ago, along with the original Electric Company. And it's much better than anything you'll see now. Much better. And John says, I beat Elmo like a baby. Nobody likes Elmo. I hated Elmo. I could not stand that character. Loud and obnoxious. And that was the direction that Sesame Street and Children's Television Workshop was going in, unfortunately. And Prime says, might not even have been Elmo's fault. He was just strolling through a back alley. Oh, shame on you. Shame on you guys. What's the matter with you? But anyways, that's unfortunately the direction everybody's going in. And we're still at this, huh? Preparedness says, wasn't Ernie and Bert gay? And I believe, who was it? Not Carol Spinney. One of the other main puppeteers was asked that question some years ago. Frank, was it Oz? Frank Oz? I think he's the one that did Yoda and Grover, and he did several of the original characters. I want to say Frank Oz. That's the name, because Carol Spinney was Big Bird and Oscar. And Carol Spinney started off on the Bozo the Clown show, actually, the East Coast version of Bozo the Clown. But anyway, I know I'm going way down a rabbit hole. People want them to be. His interpretation of it was, they're puppets. There's no sexuality. That's what Oz said. They're puppets. Can't you just leave them like that? When I was a kid, I thought they were father and son. I thought that Bert was Ernie's dad. That's what I believed growing up. Because, you know, he's just annoying his dad. Bert always seemed like the more responsible one. So, see what I mean? It shouldn't matter. The interpretation for the purpose of the show was that they were just roommates. No sexuality was implied, and they don't need it. They don't need it. But people want to put it in there because they want to target young people with those concepts. That's why you have DQ, and again, I don't mean Dairy Queen, DQ Story Hour in public libraries and public schools, because I sure don't see any of them reading at old folks' homes. I don't see them reading to the homeless. You don't see them trying to read anywhere else or do anything anywhere else except where? Public libraries, public schools, and churches. Why is that? And Cougar says, well, I think I pissed off someone. I just got knocked off here twice and had to find my way back and was not allowed to share the video on my other social media until I shared on CIA book interesting. You're having trouble. That's unfortunate. And Prime Mover says that Cookie Monster rules. Mic drop. I used to like Harry Monster. They got rid of him a long time ago. And Lone Star says, I thought they were brothers. Yeah, and see, that's another possibility, because they never really defined it. But again, I thought my impression was that they were just supposed to be roommates. I thought they were father and son. Yeah, you thought they were brothers. That makes sense because sexuality was never implied with any of the puppet characters. Human characters, they did, because there were people that had relationships. Gordon and his wife lived in the same building on the first floor, right? And then what was his name? Bob lived on the second floor, the musician. So on and so forth. Bob had an interest in the deaf girl they were dating. So they had a little bit of that going on in the background. But you get my point. The puppets, they didn't go there with it, even if the puppet was clearly male or female. They left it alone. And then All People says, I thought Snuffleupagus had asthma. They ruined Sesame Street when they revealed Snuffleupagus. He was supposed to remain an enigma that everybody thought he was imaginary. And I think they kind of, but Sesame Street went down a really bad direction, unfortunately. And I could not recommend modern Sesame Street to anyone. It's a funny connection here before I wrap up. At the mental health facility where my wife and I used to work, they liked to watch Sesame Street. And again, these are adults, but they would not watch anything modern. It had to be the old stuff, the classic Sesame Street they would watch. Modern Sesame Street, they'd get upset. Actually, anything from like probably the early 90s on, and they'd get upset. They didn't want to see it. And John says all the Muppets are in the Senate and White House. Yeah, because somebody is controlling them. I don't think they all say what they mean to say or what they would like to say. They say what they're told to say to keep their jobs. But with that, I will go ahead and wrap up. Thanks for joining us today, everybody. I hope you got something out of all of that. Hope you enjoyed that. I appreciate it. What's this? Fluke says something went wrong with the chat. It seems to have stopped. Yeah, apparently there's some bugs in here. And I'll have to, I don't know if I can even look into it because apparently ScrewTube doesn't have to tell you what your problem is or that you even have one. But anyways, thanks again, everybody. I'll go ahead and sign off and we will do this again soon.